Later today, the House will vote on blocking Operation Epic Fury whilst it's still underway. Chad Perkins is with us now. Chad, the Senate declined to limit Trump's powers. Will the House do the same thing?
Well, that's unclear, Stuart. The Senate blocked the effort to end the war. Now it's the House's turn. Democrats say the president blew past the Constitution, starting the war in Iran without congressional authorization. This vote would stop the war immediately.
Article 1 of the Constitution explicitly provides Congress with the sole authority to declare war. There is nothing ambiguous about that.
But many Republicans believe the president is within his rights to start the war since he's commander-in-chief. Republicans worry that letting Congress decide would hand the keys over to 535 commanders-in-chief. Expect at least 2 Republicans to vote with the Democrats, Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Warren Davidson of Ohio.
Recall that Democrats needed help answering, what is a woman? Unfortunately, Republicans now want to claim they can't answer, what is a war? This debate isn't even new.
Politics are involved. Democrats insist on getting every member on the record about the war. They want to boomerang this vote on Republicans if support for the war slips. There are risks for both sides. That could be a problem for Republicans this fall if there is public sentiment against the war down the road.
Look, we don't make political decisions at a time like this. Unlike the Democrats, we don't sit around in a back room and decide what's politically expedient.
Now, Democrats accuse the White House of shopping justifications for the war. The most effective way to halt the war is for Congress to cut off money. The administration could ask lawmakers for an extra spending bill to cover the war's cost. Stuart?
Thanks, Chad. Senator Dave McCormick is a Republican from the state of Pennsylvania, and he joins me now. Senator, you served in the 82nd Airborne in the First Gulf War. Now you want to, as you say, push the moment in the war on Iran. So I'm trying to interpret this. You want to win and win fast. Is that right?
Yeah, good morning, Stuart. Absolutely. I think the president has exercised his absolute authorities under the Constitution. Iran poses an imminent threat with its ballistic missile capability and its return to trying to rebuild its nuclear program. And the president's goals here are very clear. Destroy the missiles, destroy the launchers, destroy the manufacturing capability, destroy the Navy, and give us confidence that Iran's not going to be able to build a nuclear weapon long into the foreseeable future. We're well on track to achieve those objectives, but we got some more work to do. This is early days, and so
the public
go
doesn't
ahead,
want. I'm sorry to interrupt, sir, but the public does not want a long war. I'm not sure a long war what it is, but what would be a short war to you?
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks. That's it.
Listen, we're all. I mean, I was 35 years ago. I was just finishing up in Iraq, and then we had 20 years of war, which has scarred many Americans. Many of us feel like these long-term foreign entanglement is absolutely not in America's best interest. That's not what's happening here. The president's very focused, and we're talking weeks, I think, not months, but we have to accomplish the military objectives. It would be a terrible tragedy to get into this situation and not really destroy the capability of the Iranian regime to kill Americans and to attack our allies. And I think we're well on the way, but as I said, we got more work to do.
I want you to listen to what the White House said about keeping oil prices stable during the war. Watch this.
Thank God we have a president who has exuded American energy dominance over the past year, an administration that is wholeheartedly focused on keeping prices stable as best as we can. Of course, this operation is temporary to protect the homeland, but crude oil prices did fall yesterday. They remain stable today after the president announced steps to ensure the stability in global energy markets.
Senator, unfortunately, oil prices have gone back up again today, $77 a barrel. The price of gas is way up. Crude oil is now at $78 a barrel and rising, and that's largely why the stock market is down. Not good for the president when the gas price and the oil price is going up.
Well, listen, I think we have to take a little bit of a longer view here. There's going to be volatility, and when there's uncertainty like this, thank God we have a strategy of energy independence in America. Thank God places like Pennsylvania, which is the second largest energy producer in the country, the fourth largest natural gas reserves in the world. We're not only providing natural gas for America, but for the world. But let's have a little bit of a longer view. When we finish these operations, we will now essentially have more stability in the region. The Straits of Hormuz, where 20% of the natural gas and oil goes through, will be secure. There's now two major producers of oil. The 30% of the oil reserves in the world are in Venezuela and Iran, and they will be under more favorable regimes that aren't trying to support our adversaries and destroy America. And so this is going to be bumpy in the short term. This is great for America, great for energy prices, great for energy security in the longer run. And thank God we are blessed in America with natural resources that can provide our energy and a president that's willing to unlock them.
Senator McCormick, thanks very much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sir.